Now, a question I seem to get a lot is, what are some of the better Pro Controller alternatives for the Switch, of course? What would be good to get outside of the Pro Controller if, say, I don't want to spend $70 on a controller, or I need one for kids that want to play multiplayer, maybe I have to buy several of them so that they're all happy and I don't want to, again, spend hundreds of dollars to get controllers, or you want one for a friend that comes over occasionally, or a roommate or a spouse that plays sometimes. And I've continued to go through them several times now looking for one that's pretty good for the price, and to be honest, today, I think I found one. This actually is a very good controller for the Switch for the money, and today we're going to go over why that is. Also, if at any time you want to check out more information about this controller, I'll have a link down below to Amazon where I actually managed to find it, and it's actually Prime shipped, so it got here pretty quick. So let's switch over here and we can do a quick unboxing of it. It does come in a brown box. This is exactly how it showed up, minus like it was in another box with some other stuff that you ordered. But it is pretty much set up in this brown box. It's not fancy at all, and it literally says wireless controller on the front and kind of this kind of outline of the controller that's in there. Not fancy at all in terms of packaging, but you know what, that's fine. We don't play with the packaging anyway. Right away you get a user controller guide here, so it does tell you how to sync it up to Android, Windows, or the Switch. There are different modes, and then it tells you what it's compatible with. For example, the motion controls only work with the Switch, but you can sync them up to any of those devices. So if you have a laptop or PC you want to use this on, you can, or if you want to use it for mobile gaming on your phone, you can do that as well. Pretty good there in terms of options. Here's our controller. It also comes with a charge cable and then two different toppers for the control sticks, so you can have different thumbstick covers, I guess. I didn't use them. I didn't really have any issues with the default one, but it has more like dimples on there so that I guess it's better grip. So there's that. This is a fairly decent charge cable, although it's not tremendously long. I think it was only like maybe 5 feet, so it's at least decent enough to charge it. But you may actually already have a charge cable that you can use anyway. However, it does come with a USB Type-C charge cable. That's right, it does use USB-C. Great. I'm not a fan of the micro USB anymore after, of course, we've had it with the Switch and phones at this point. I'm ready to move on to USB-C for everything. So here we go. Let's get the controller out, and we're going to take a quick look around it. Now, this is the Sunway Tech SGN30 controller. Flip it over to the back. It has more information on here, including a 500 milliamp hour battery, motion controller, so it does support the motion controls in something like Splatoon, for example. That does work. Gyro controls in something like Doom would work as well, Wolfenstein. So it is set up there. No Amiibo support and no HD rumble. However, it does have rumble, just not HD rumble, but it is a bit softer. It's not like harsh rumble, and I'm going to show you why when we open this up, why that is, which is actually an interesting thing that they've done there. But the rumble is in each palm, so in each side here, and it's basically like your standard rumble that you'd find in an Xbox One or PlayStation 4 controller. And we can kind of see the A, B, X, Y buttons here. They're using almost like a YMCA type font. That's what it kind of reminded me of. I think the Y is backwards though, but it's kind of this weird font. I don't know why they went with that, but it also has a green LED in the center here, so I press home, you can kind of see it start to light up. And it's this vertical up and down, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's an odd situation on some of the button placement, which I guess we'll start with. The button placement for A, B, X, Y is fine, it makes sense. However, when you get to the center of the controller, I don't understand why their button placement is this way. It's very weird. And again, it gets weirder when we actually get inside the system, which I'll show you inside this controller. But they decided to put plus and minus up here out of the way, capture in the middle. Then they put this home button down here. The problem I have with this is the home button is in firing range of the right stick and the right on the D-pad here. So you may accidentally hit it at times if like the action is serious, you know, or things are getting serious and you might get crazy with it and accidentally hit it. I could see that being a thing. This would make much more sense up here next to the capture button. So capture, home, start, select, of course, or plus minus, like what we see with something like the Pro Controller. No clue why that's down there. It's very, very odd. So I'm torn on the best thing about this controller because there's two that are really, really good and stand out. One, the thumbsticks. The thumbsticks have little to no dead zone on it, as in, like if you have your thumbsticks, sometimes you can kind of wiggle them around, right, without it actually doing it on screen. These are very, very tight. There's a tension there when it's just sitting neutral, and you cannot really move it much at all, which is good, because then it feels very purposeful, and it feels very good when you actually move it around. These are extremely accurate thumbsticks compared to others. Like if you let go of it, not a lot of wiggle there. Very, very good feeling though when you're actually using it. Also, I kind of like the red accent on the underside of these sticks, where they have like that reddish look. I think that's cool. It actually kind of is a nice little contrast to the entire like just matte black front. So I actually really like the way that looks, but the thumbsticks are great. I had no issues with them, and they just feel really nice when you're actually moving around them, very smooth, and they don't have any issues where they get stuck in the corners or anything. So these are really, really nice. Believe it or not, these kind of remind me of the Elite thumbsticks on my Xbox One Elite controller. Not necessarily the weight, because those of course have like a metal finish, but just kind of the tension and how sturdy they are feel really good. The other good thing about this is, and I know everyone was going to ask beforehand, what about that D-pad? The D-pad is good. I am very happy with it. No weird presses during things like Tetris 99, which my Pro Controller is guilty of, where you might accidentally see that top button up get pressed and it drops straight down. The D-pad here is much better. When we open it up, I'll show you, I'll point out some of the reasons why. There's a few big ones, but the D-pad itself is solid. It's not super mushy. It feels good when you press it. I like this D-pad. Good D-pad. Some of the things they probably could improve on. One, of course, the home button needs to be moved. I think this design here is fine, but if this was more of a rubberized texture here, right off of this plastic where your palm kind of goes and your thumb, I think that would feel a lot better, and it would actually give it a slightly more premium feel. And it wouldn't even have to be like the whole thing. If just this part here was like rubberized, I think it would feel better. And it'd also have a bit of a lift off of the controller, so it would probably feel a bit better there. And then the R and L are very mushy. I mean, it's an odd feeling because ZR and ZL don't have as mushy of a feeling. These do. So when you press it, it's almost like you have to give it a minute for it to pop back up. It's a weird feeling. I don't like the kind of the mushiness of L and R. I think it's playable, but the mushiness is it could be better. And then the other thing is, it does not wake the system. And that's a kind of a complaint I have about controllers that just can't do that, because that means that you, of course, if you walk into a room and you pick up your controller, maybe you have like a nice entertainment center set up and everything, and you're usually, 8 feet away from your TV. You then have to go to your TV, turn it on the switch, and then come back and, then turn on this controller to then let it sync up. Doing things like system resets and stuff can be a pain, or turn it off, go into sleep mode, and then turn it back on. Those are all things this controller can't do, and that's a bit of a shame. I like that some of the newer ones that we see come out do that, and I would like to see this get to that point, but that's just something you have to remember when you go into it. Yes, we have USB-C charging at the top, so it comes out of the top. They're claiming about 10 to 15 hours of battery life, dependent on your situation, I guess, or usage with the controller, whether there's a ton of rumble or motion controls going on. But it worked fine for me. I used it for about 5 or 6 hours throughout the week, and it didn't have to charge it other than the initial time when I took it out of the box. So at least there, it seems like it's longer than like 5 or 6 hours. So that's good. We also have a reset button on the back. So if you have any hangups with it, press the reset button and then you have to resync it. But overall, cool little design. It feels good. It's not super heavy, but it's also not obscenely light. If I get kind of our scale here, I can quickly weigh this guy and we can get a nice little look at how heavy it is. It's 180 grams, which if you compare that to something like a single Joy-Con, which is 52 grams, yeah, it has a bit of a weight to it. I think the Pro Controller is about 50 grams heavier, so it does have weight beyond the, it feels cheap point, so it's at least pretty good. Now we're gonna go ahead and rip it apart so you can take a look inside. There's some weird things in here, by the way, which we'll talk about. It has 7 screws on the back, all Phillips head. They all loosen pretty easily. You do want a thinner precision driver if you ever have to open one of these up, because the plastic holes here on the sides are very deep, especially in the kind of palm sides there, or the bottom part, and then the top parts here. This one's not too bad, this one's not too bad, and this one, but these 4 are all very far in, so you have to kind of sink your driver all the way in. So something I noticed about this controller when I was taking it apart before, it's not only screwed in, but it's also clipped in around the edges here, so it kind of adds that little extra, it's a little thing, but it adds a little extra bit of quality to it, because you won't get those weird like gaps. Maybe occasionally if you look around it, even if it's all screwed in, you might see some kind of gaps between the plastic. This actually has to clip in when you put it back together, and when you take it apart, you have to kind of pry it apart. So it has 7 screws on the back holding it, and then you also have to break the clips around. So again, just little things like that to make it feel better when you're using it. All right, so now that we've got it apart there, we have our battery here, and they could have probably gone larger with this battery. Like if you take a look at it, it's a 500 milliamp hour battery, but there is quite a bit of space just kind of sitting here. They probably could have put a larger battery in here if they wanted, and that would of course improve battery life. And yeah, they could probably do that, and I would hope they would in the future. Two of our rumble motors are here, this one and this one. So what's interesting about this is they use these weights here. We've explained several times how these work when we looked at them. Use these weights here, they're offset so that when you spin it, it kind of makes it oscillate and then it'll start to rumble. That's how it works. This one is has less weight on, this will be the right side when you're using it, than the one on the left. I'm not sure if that is to try to help and make it less violent when it shakes, but it was an interesting thing that I saw when I looked at it. And even if you look on their site on Amazon with their pictures, they still have these. So I'm not like have a defective one or I'm missing like 2 plates on this one or 3 plates, 1, 2, 3, 2 plates. That's just kind of how they have it set up, which is an odd thing. Not really sure what that's about. Maybe somebody can comment on that in the comments there. And then we also have the shoulder buttons up here are actually plugged in through a ribbon cable. They're not soldered in at all, which is another nice touch. And then we have our antenna up here completely open and free, nothing in the way of it. Good stuff there. And then we have to unscrew these. We take it apart and we can take a look at that D-pad. Okay, so our main board is free, and I also want to point something else out that's really, really weird. And I checked this out. It has these 2 buttons here. So we have, of course, our plus minus at the top. We have our capture button in the middle, and then we have our home button here. There are 2 buttons in here that are completely unused. And I don't know why that is. It's very weird. The one on the left, if I would press that, because I took it apart, I synced it up, and I wanted to see if they're like registered as anything. This one's still registered as a capture button. This one's registered as nothing. And then the one, of course, in the middle is a capture button. I have no idea why there are just 2 buttons in there that are just doing nothing. And I also wonder why this is here when one of these 2 could just be they could have just not used this middle one. Then you have capture and you have home. So again, I'm not sure what happened here or why, if this is a reused board or what, but it's a weird thing to think about and look at. Again, eliminate this, and then you have your capture, your home, your plus, your minus, boom, fixed. So you may have already noticed our D-pad is a separate board, which is interesting. So we can actually take that out. So it is completely supported with 3 different screws on each side. So we have 3 screws holding this down. So you won't, again, that might have been why it felt fairly solid when I was pushing down on it. It's not even part of the main board. It's just plugged in on its side. So we're gonna take a look at this board real quick. And I wanna point a few things out to you because I noticed that the contact points are pretty far away from each other actually. So once we get that guy out, there we go, have that out, we'll take a look at this as well. But here is our D-pad board. These contact points are pretty far away from each other. So when I was looking at it and I looked at our typical membrane here, right, for the controller, I was looking at it, I said, man, it's gonna be really hard to push down on 2 at the same time with how they have it set up. And I have to at least give them credit. This is like a pretty nice board that they're using just for a D-pad. It's actually very thick. Like it's hard to bend if you can at all. And it looks like the contacts are very, very nice. So it has that nice like kind of responsiveness to it. And that's all I can assume is the way they've designed this D-pad to actually be like a solid D-pad. And at least for now, I've had good experiences with it. Who's to say what it'll do a year from now? But I also look at this and it has this serious spike. How we've talked about this before, where it has this really serious spike in the middle there, right on that guy there. So it is very difficult, again, to kind of press it. Like if I put it on the table here, it is at a pretty serious angle, and actually getting it to kind of sit up like that. So it has a lot going for it for this D-pad. So if you're getting tired of your Pro Controller D-pad, or you're concerned about the Pro Controllers just for its D-pad, and you don't want to get something like an SN30 for whatever reason, maybe because you want to use it in other games, you got a good D-pad here. So hey, good job to them for that, for Sunway Tech. And that's going to do it for the Sunway Tech SGN30 controller for the Switch. Is it a good Pro Controller alternative? Yeah, a few little quirks and issues here and there. It's actually not bad, and honestly, if you just want a second controller, I think this is a really good option for someone who might not even play all the time and you just want to get them something that's not complete garbage. So let me know what you guys think about the SGN30 down below. You might be wondering, well, what's the price on this thing? Well, it's less than half of what a Switch Pro Controller is. I got this one for $29. Prime shipped on Amazon, so it got here in about 2 days. not bad. Thanks guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, it does help out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.